Imagine a GIA certificate for jewelry, but it's not GIA, it's not necessarily a certificate, it's a report, but the owner isn't the GIA. The owner is the person who actually looked at the piece, signs their name onto it. We believe that the demographics of the United States is such that there's going to be not millions, billions of dollars of recycled jewelry coming onto the market. And this will be from baby boomers who get older. Diamonds are forever, people are not. What Mrs. Jones needs is an honest appraiser. Now, assuming she gets to an honest appraiser, which is not something you can assume lightly, in many instances the appraisers want to buy it for themselves. They say, I'll have an appraiser, but I'm buying it for myself. I'm not against that necessarily. I'm not against anything. But what I looked at and said, we need to be able to give Mrs. Jones a shot, a fair shot at a fair market value. So one of the things we're doing is we're creating an environment where Rapnet is going to handle jewelry. That's a big one. Another thing that we're doing is we're creating a special Rapnet appraiser concept. We're not so hot on it. It's really for just true appraisers who belong to appraiser associations where they're tested. It's for appraisers who are professional appraisers. And I think what we're going to do is for something like $250, we're going to provide you with Rapnet access without the names of the suppliers. So you'll be able to see information on Rapnet, shape, size, color, clarity, search, maybe even location. I don't know if you have location yet. And then you'll be able to see comps. So you'll see a 105 FVVS2 strong blue fluorescence. I don't know if that, but you can use the search feature and then you can find, okay, show me 101 to 110 FVVS2s with strong blue fluorescence, show me what's there. Can we consistently and honestly describe a piece of jewelry so that it's meaningful? That's what the Rapaport Group is after. That's our holy grail here. Being the eyes of the market for the customer, to me, is the most important. Prices will solve themselves. One way or the other, you've got your procedures, you've got your ways, you've got your things. Again, at some stage we will say, since it's adequately and accurately described in the standardized format, it'll now be tradable easier. That jewelry is going to come down the pipe, and either it's going to get sold in some kind of a auction, market, rational, fair market way, or the woman's going to get ripped off. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. You become the advocate for the owner of the jewelry. And one of the advocacy things that you do is you properly describe the jewelry so that it has an optimal chance to get a fair market value.
So a couple of things we've been working on, and to your point about we've become just brokers, we're actually insistent that it's just the opposite, that the evaluation comes first. And fair, consistent, regular evaluation allows this flow of goods that we think is coming to find a home. So it's actually our view is we're with you completely. The last thing we want you to be is just a broker. What we want is fair, honest, consistent evaluation of goods. So if we describe them the same way from a group of qualified appraisers that we each have shared trust in, we create value that can be used no matter how you decide to dispose of the product.
My point is this, Mrs. Jones. It begins with Mrs. Jones and it ends with Mrs. Jones' granddaughter. That's all that interests me. So in order to describe the piece, you can say to the woman, my dear, this looks like it's an authentic piece. Obviously, if she has an invoice from her great-grandmother, I would be able to. But I would advise you, based on the best way to optimize the value here, it's a gamble, but I would send it to whoever it is. In other words, you are, in my view, the advisor of the customer. Your loyalty, you may have to use US PAP regulations, like a hospital has to use certain procedures where they're taking care of a patient in the emergency room because there's certain procedures to avoid fraud and all kinds of evil. And I accept US PAP in terms of saying, let us not do evil things. But on the other hand, you can't let Mrs. Jones hang. So if you look at a piece and you're the advisor and you would say to her, this looks like an authentic piece, I suggest you fly to New York immediately and I don't know, do whatever you're going to do, That's your job as an advisor. I may be transcending the idea of an appraiser to the idea of an advisor, the idea of someone who has Mrs. Jones' interests and Mrs. Jones' interests only as their main purpose in life.
I do try to pretend I'm a fiduciary because I do think that I try to keep a bead on how the local market pays, and I try to do a little better. But that's the missing part when we're really talking about the social impact here of appraisals, and you can describe as eloquently and precisely as you can, and I think this is laudable. It wouldn't mean a lot to me truly when I've got to decide what's the desirability, what's the saleability, the outlet for this piece. Because you use the word captured, I feel that way sometimes. A piece just captures me, and I think it's beautiful. And it can't be sold for years. And sometimes that piece will be ultimately melted down. There's a variability that I don't think we can, get to the answer here. And the real variability, frankly, is people like me who have to invest in it.
It may take you 4 years to move something that our electronic information systems, because of the tremendous amount of people that could see a piece, can move in 4 hours. And the world that we're going into is going to be that world. I am perceiving there to be a huge business in offering pieces electronically to large amounts of people with a professional analysis or opinion of it.
Our job as Rapaport is to find the appropriate sales vehicle for the right item. It may be RapNet that just says informal exchange from the trade. It may be the real.
Maybe Amazon.
It may be a month-end auction that we run. It could be anything, but there are items. So the version that I ran into of your point, at AGS Conclave, they had an appraisal conference. And there's a gentleman from South Carolina sitting over here saying, you know what, I can't buy enough pearls. I buy them, I sell them like that. And the other end of the panel is the guy from Connecticut, says, I haven't bought a pearl for 10 years because I can't sell a damn thing, but I'm going to start buying them tomorrow because I know he's going to sell them. That, in a one-to-one, is having the right product described the right way. What we'll provide, hopefully, is the right sales solution options for the seller to use. The valuation piece I was going to add, it's back to a trusted network of appraisers. Ultimately, that value gets attached by professionals, and those are the appraisers. It's what you do.
If we advise Mrs. Jones and understand that's our main job, okay? If we can't do something, we're honest and we say, I don't know how to do this. That's okay. I don't know is a perfectly valid, good answer to something, okay? But then we might be able to say to you, since you don't know how to appraise this piece, we got a guy in Albuquerque, New Mexico, who's really an expert in ancient Chinese jewelry or with something else. And by the way, as the team comes together, there'll be people with higher levels of expertise. This person's a pearl expert, and that person's an emerald expert, and that person this and that. And that's what makes it so much fun, because ultimately, what we're about is community. And I'm saying to you, there's no question in my mind that there's tremendous opportunities for us to be able to do this while helping Mrs. Jones.